at 1 p.m. I will call this order to meet this board meeting of the Rails Library System to order. I'm Mary Jo Matusik, the president of the Rails Board, and we are at the East Peoria Service Center for Rails. Emily, will you please call roll?
Sure. Sarah Armstrong.
Here on the phone.
Dave Berry.
Here.
Karen Bershey. Here. Judy Crocker. Kate Hall. Here. Dan Hilliard.
Here.
Lisa Knashak.
Here in Burr Ridge.
Mary Jo Matusik.
Here.
Paul Mills.
Here.
Kathy Parker.
Here on the phone.
Carrie Pearson.
Here in Burr Ridge.
Laura Turner. Dane Ward.
Here.
Lori Wilcox.
Here.
Okay, let's start with the guests in East Peoria.
Dee Brennan, Rails.
Emily Feister, Rails.
Veranda Pitchford Rails.
Michelle Armbruster, Morrison and Mary Wiley Library in Elmwood.
Cheryl Harlow, Williamsville Public Library.
John Sayers, Kiwani.
Barbara Love, Kiwani.
Harriet Zippel, Galesburg Public Library.
Marquette Rails.
Carolyn Coulter, Rails. Heather Rosio, Rails.
Debbie Baskey, Rails.
Martha Troxel, Rails RSA.
Liza Hickey, Rails RSA.
Grant Calhoun, Rails RSA.
Kathy Roby, Prairie Sky Public District.
Dennis Stanowski, non-Rails, phone. Sarah Larson, Rails RSA.
Doug Weimer, Talking Books.
James Campbell, Rails RSA.
Wendy Good, Rails, RSA.
Mary Witt, Rails.
Okay. Bolingbrook.
Joe Philippek, Rails.
Burr Ridge.
Ann Slaughter, Rails.
Jane Plass, Rails.
Bill Getz, Rails.
Barb Brooks, Rails.
No one in Coal Valley. Rockford. No one there. Illinois State Library.
Hang on a second. Hi, it's Lauren Tucker, and I'm joined by
Mark Schaefer.
Cindy Coletti.
Deb Aggert. Pat Burr.
Peter Benning.
that's us.
Okay. Quincy Public. And it doesn't appear there's anyone at Vernon Area Public Library. Okay. Are there any public comments? Okay, hearing no public comments, we'll move down to the adoption of the agenda.
I move that we adopt the agenda as presented.
I will second that.
Okay, we have a motion made by Kate and Paul. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, motion passed. We will move down to reports, approval of the board minutes from March 25th, 2016. May I have a motion for the approval of the minutes for the March 25th, 2016 Rails board meeting?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Motion by Dane, second.
Down here.
Second by Barry.
Dave.
Dave. Dane and Dave. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those
Harry
opposed?
Pearson abstains.
Sarah Armstrong,
Okay.
Lori Wilcox, abstain.
All right, motion passed. Jim Krager, or do we have some? Getz. It's Bill Getz.
Jim is out of the office today, so he's asked me
All
to
right.
give the report.
Great, thank you.
The total expenditures for March were $895,102.12. The complete list is in the end of the report. At the end of March, based on net expenditures proposed in the amended fiscal year 16 budget, the general fund had cash and investments equal to roughly 13 months of operation. Without redirecting any of the $6.4 million assigned for special projects, the general fund is able to operate through April of 2017. Also, through the end of April, total revenues were $1.6 million, which is about $4.8 million under the revised budget, mostly due to the fact that we haven't received any payments on the $5.8 million area per capita grant for fiscal year 16. However, there is some good news. After receiving the market quality $36,080 in February for the market quality grant, on April 12th, we received the full $622,309 in the Talking Book Outreach Center blind and physical handicap grant. So that's fully funded for the year. Total year-to-date general fund expenditures at the end of March were above the revised budget by $107,000, or 1.5%. The general fund personnel costs, $105,000 below the budget, $88,000 of which is attributed just to salaries and wages, and professional services, $78,000 below budget, were offset by above-budget expenditures in e-resources of $193,000 and contractual services of $97,000. The personnel costs were aided by a $19,000 refund for the calendar year 2015 workers' compensation insurance premium, which came from the audit that would happen at the end of the year, and one LSAP position not being fulfilled until the middle of the year, and then some delay in hiring other LSAP positions due to attrition. The e-resources and contractual services were above budget, mainly due to actual expenditure timing compared to the equal monthly distribution of the total budget amount. We expect those to be fairly close together by the end of the year. Year-to-date capital fund expenditures were $43,607 over budget, again due to the actual timing between the timing between actual expenditures and the monthly allocation of the budget number. Except for a possibility of having to buy vehicles to support the ILDS delivery contract that starts July 1st, we do not have any additional capital expenditures planned. So barring any purchases of vehicles, that budget should be equal by the end of the year too. And Jim wanted me to mention two things that came up after he wrote his letter. He was elected treasurer of the Limerick Board. That's our health insurance broker. So we'll have somebody on the board of directors watching our interest. And also at that meeting, the Limerick Reserve balance, they want to have, their goal is to have a minimum of $3 million, roughly 6 months reserve. And after just 3 months, they have already $2.5 million in reserve. So they're getting close. And that's all. Any questions?
Okay, hearing no questions, may I have a motion for the approval of the Rails financial reports for March 2016?
So move.
Second.
Moved by Kate, second by Dave. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, the motion has passed. Okay. Bill, can you give us the approval of the expenditures?
The expenditures for March of 2016 were $895,102.12.
And not a penny more.
Any questions? Hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion for approval of the check voucher and register for February in the amount of.
No, it should be March.
Yeah, I'm like, wait a minute, that should be March. For $895,102.12.
So moved.
Emily, will you do a roll call, please?
Sarah Armstrong,
Yes.
Dave Barry,
Yes.
Karen Bershey,
Sorry to say no.
Kate Hall,
Yes.
Dan Hilliard,
Yes.
Lisa Knashak,
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek,
Yes.
Paul Mills,
Yes.
Kathy Parker. Kathy, did we lose you?
Somebody just went off.
Somebody did.
Carrie Pearson,
Yes.
Dane Ward,
Yes.
Lori Wilcox,
Yes.
Yeah.
We should call back.
Yes. We'll move down to reports. I only have one thing to report. Those of you that know Valerie Wilford know that they know that she had surgery a couple weeks ago. She's at home, I believe. Her sister is here. She had some minor complications, so that's what we know so far. But she is the former director of Reliance and knows a lot of us through Illinois State. So, all right. Gee,
This is Kathy. I came
committee-
on the line.
Great, Kathy. Okay.
And I voted yes on other stuff.
Okay.
It went out
All
right
right.
when you were coming up to me, so.
We noticed. Thank you. All right. We'll move down to committee reports. Paul?
The consortium committee will be meeting on Monday, April 25th, ma'am, so I expect I will have a report at the May board meeting.
Perfect. Kate, Consortia Futures?
Consortia Futures Subcommittee did meet, and we had a very good discussion. Now that the LSAP definition has been finalized and approved, we talked about what the next steps were and the role of the committee. So we had already decided kind of to focus on cataloging. So the group talked about what that would mean, and then we also had a discussion about the role of the Consortia Futures Subcommittee. There's been some confusion about the role and the charge of the Consortia Committee overlapping with the Consortia Futures Subcommittee and also with the Overlay Working Group. So we are recommending to the Consortia Committee, who will discuss this on Monday, that the Consortia Futures Subcommittee disband and instead be turned into different working groups of the Consortia Committee, including the Overlay Subcommittee, which already exists, and turning that into a working group. And then we will have a cataloging working group that will work and be able to bring in people that are actual, not that we don't have some great people on the committee that do have cataloging backgrounds, but to bring in people that are actually cataloging on a regular basis to talk about what best practices are and to look at how we can make that more standard throughout the system. So that will be discussed at the Monday meeting. And so essentially, depending on what the Consortia Committee decides, the Consortia Futures Subcommittee will disband and be reformed into
Working groups.
groups.
Okay. Thank you. Delivery Committee, Kate?
We did not meet.
Okay. Executive Committee has not met. Policy?
Yes, we met this morning, and we recommended that 6 policies and 1 revised procedure to the board for approval. Did you want to go into little details on those?
Well, they're all on the agenda.
Bring 'em up
later.
under-
Might as well do it then.
Okay.
Under unfinished business? Perfect. Okay. Move down to System Membership Standards Committee. Kathy, do you want to say anything, or you want Dee to do the talking?
I can talk a little bit, and if Dee thinks she needs to add that I missed, that's great. We met we did a membership update in April, and there were quite a bit of comments and a lot of good feedback. There's also been some feedback, not as much as I thought there would be, on the Rails website, but people I know are still adding a little bit. As Dee's memo indicated, we're going to meet, a few of us are going to meet next week to kind of discuss the next steps. And we'll probably have to do have a lot of conversations about that. And then I see we're going to have more in the May meeting, as she wrote in her report. So.
Okay. Anything else to add, Rhonda? No? Okay, just checking. We'll move down to Nominating Committee.
Yes, I can report on the nominating committee. They met just this past Wednesday, and they did a great job. We have 17 candidates for the board election, which starts Monday, and there are some trustee seats, at-large seats, and also the special librarian representative seat. I think the committee, John Sayers was an important member of the committee. I think we have really good geographic representation from among the candidates, and one of our nominating committee members, Nancy Dolan from Quincy, suggested that we put a map on the election page. So Brian Smith, of course, immediately did that. And I think that will help to kind of help remind people what the total area is and where the candidates are coming from and where the board, just to help
balance.
Right, just because
and just for people who don't know where some of these
exactly, especially some of the names. The names are not helpful even. So so that starts Monday and it closes May 13th. Yeah, is that right, Mary?
5 o'clock.
Yep. And then at that point, and the committee is going to meet right after that to sort of confirm the results, and then to come up with the slate of officers. And so that will be presented probably in June. I don't think we'll get that done by the May board meeting, but never know.
Okay.
So we're in very good shape.
Wonderful.
And I was really pleased at the interest in the board positions. Yeah.
Okay, we'll move down to Rails reports. Dee?
Yes. So we have my report. I appreciate everybody's support and forbearance while I was sick. I've never missed a board meeting in my career. It was a shock to my system, I must say. So thanks to everyone for carrying on and keeping things going. As a result, my report is somewhat short. Since I was out a lot. But things are moving along. As I say, Link and Magic do appear on track to join SWAN at this point. There's a meeting that the individual boards are still meeting and discussing the future. SWAN also appears to be moving out of Rails.
Physically, yes.
Physically, yes. Our FOIA hotline is going to go live. Joe, do you mind if I ask you that date since you're out there?
Yeah, Dee, it'll appear in next week's e-news, and at that time the information will be available on the website and so forth. So we could say Wednesday of next week.
Great. Okay, thank you. So I'm pleased about that because we did get a couple of inquiries from some Heartland libraries this week about that project, so that's really good. And I don't know if
Is SWAN moving out for space reasons, or?
Yes.
Okay.
They still love you.
Dee, can I make a
Oh,
comment
yes.
about that?
Yeah.
This is Kathy. I'm in Swan Library, and I wanted the board to know, and Aaron and I talked about this. This is not a reflection of anything regarding Rails. Ever since the systems merged, and it was always kind of a worry about the LSAP and being able to be supported, previous to, Rails being Rails. Swan has always been planning at some point to be on its own in its own building. So this is something we've been working towards for the last 5 or 6 years. We talked about it and put it into our strategic plan years ago. And being the time that, now that we're selling more buildings with Rails and we're having a lot more stuff going on, it really is, we find we need more room as Swan. And, always appreciate all the support financially and in kind with Rails, but we really just need to be in our own facility now just for space. And still want to maintain a good relationship with Rails in the process.
Good. Thank you, Kathy. Okay. Any other questions for Dee?
I just have one. With the FOIA hotline, will we get periodic updates about how, how many requests and things?
Yes. We're going to get statistics from Ansel Glink about calls.
I'm trying not to use that word, but
We know how you love statistics, Kate.
Yeah, so we're going to evaluate it after a few months to see how things are going. Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I know my board was really excited to hear that this was going to. Not that we get many, but just to know that it's out there. There's a lot of comfort in that.
Safety net, at
least.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'd just like to compliment Dee on her excellent job at PLA for the presentation that we did. She was wonderful, and I think really represented Rails very well.
I played the long-suffering director, which not recently, but I've had a lot of.
It was not very good, though.
No, he was not a very good board member.
Mm-hmm.
Actually, he was pretty funny himself.
He was funny.
We did a program at PLA about what was it? It was called Board
Wars, Library Director Relations.
Yeah.
We had an opening skit that modeled bad behavior, which fortunately people laughed at. That was my concern, that people wouldn't laugh, but they laughed.
Very good.
So you were the trustee behaving badly?
I was one of the bad trustees who slept during meetings and also offered to sell the library district insurance from my own personal firm. Those were the roles I played during the skit.
Very nice, very nice.
It was fun.
All right. We will move down to the Rails service and operations report.
Yes. So two of the big projects that are going on right now are related to getting ready for taking on the ILDS contract starting July 1st. So we're working on that with Heartland and with Carly. And then also on May 17th or 16th? May 17th, the Quad City 8 libraries are going live back into Prairie Cat. So that's very exciting, right, Carolyn? I don't know if anybody has any questions about anything else in the report. I would also, this isn't in either report because it just happened, but some of us the other day tuned in to watch Carla Hayden's confirmation hearing in Congress, and it was great to, she did a great job, and it was great to hear Congress people say nice things about libraries on television. So it was kind of heartwarming.
And is that Judy? Did you just join us? On the phone?
On the phone.
All right.
We're working on the video, but right now I'm on the phone.
Okay.
You had asked, it was asked several meetings ago, about the value of this particular report to the board, and I think it's very helpful. The way it's laid out makes it very easy to summarize, very relatively, not complex, but also just detailed operations and things that would lose. And I know, just in my experience, if you have everybody do that summary report, then it helps you to focus. This is what I did last month.
Absolutely.
It helps. So
Yeah.
it was, maybe that's because I actually read this all the way to the end this time. It's a bad trustee, so.
No.
And the links are helpful too. So.
All right. If there's nothing else for D, we'll move down to the Illinois State Library.
Yes, good afternoon. This is Lauren. We had hoped to be able to discuss with you our actions on your FY16 plan of service and our directions for you for the FY17 application, but alas, that can't happen because we haven't gotten the authorization to do that yet. And when the right pairs of eyes look on the documents that we've drafted, I would assume that we will be receiving that authority, hopefully the first part of next week. And I think you will be pleased with what we've done, but we just can't share it with you at this time. You will be receiving notification in writing, and when we have the authorization to release that, we will be doing it, hopefully Monday or Tuesday. In Springfield, the General Assembly is in session this week. There was good news happening today. Both the House and the Senate have approved a partial spending plan for higher education, and then the governor has indicated that he will sign it. So that is a positive development for FY16, 10 months into FY16. So that suggests that progress is being made, but there's no indication that things will be smooth sailing between here and start of FY17. Well, we'll just have to wait and see. There are some interesting announcements in our e-news today, so your members may want to take a look at that. The OCLC renewal agreements were mailed out this week, and your members should be receiving those. If you are aware of any budding poets within your service areas, if you're public libraries or academics or schools, our emerging writers competition will again be conducted this year, and we'll be taking applications and entries for that through June 30th. We have received word from IMLS that our second phase of our autism program has been funded at over $500,000 for next year, and hopefully we'll have an FY17 state budget that will authorize us to spend those funds. So we're all hopeful. Anything else to talk about? I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any.
Dee?
Thank you, Lauren. I should also tell the board, just as a quick follow-up, I did have lunch yesterday with Ann Craig and Leslie Bednar, and we talked a little bit about FY 2017 and also about the certification process we just went through and the ILL traffic survey, some projects. And so, we're all in agreement that we just keep carrying on and, work together to keep things going as well as we can. So
Okay.
That's very good news about the money for higher ed.
Yes.
Very good news. So.
All right. Thank you, Lauren. All right, we'll move down to new business, to membership changes. Amanda? Approval of a new member?
Yes. So on April 6th, I visited Northwest Suburban College Library and determined this library meets all Rails membership requirements. The Rails Membership Development and Resource Sharing Department requests the Rails Board vote to recommend to the Illinois State Library approval of membership of this library. The library director at Northwest Suburban College is very interested in resource sharing, and that's the main reason why she wanted to join Rails. The school has a great relationship with the local public libraries in Schaumburg and Rolling Meadows, as well as the local colleges, and it encourages students to utilize these libraries. They are looking forward to expanding their interlibrary loan services after approval of their Rails membership. Are there any questions on this library?
Great to get a new member, right?
Yes. All right, we need a motion to approve the Northwest Suburban College Library as a full member in Rails.
So moved.
Recommend to the state for full membership in Rails. All right, so now I will take the motion.
Too soon.
Well, academics, please.
Yeah,
You should second it, please.
Okay, second.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions? Hearing none, Northwest Suburban College Library will be recommended to the Illinois State Library for full membership in the library system. Thank you, Amanda. All right. Membership changes due to certification.
Yes, of course, Amanda gets the good news.
Oh,
And I'm like the Grim Reaper of membership, of Rails. So, first of all, I just want to first of all, thank Amanda, Jody, Emily, and Margie for their assistance in this year's certification process. They doggedly called, emailed, visited to help members complete the certification process and really did an awesome job. Secondly, I just want to remind everyone here, this year's certification process was a little different. You know, libraries are required annually to confirm that they meet the statewide membership standards as listed in administrative code through an online form. However, this year, by March 31st, and that portal closes specifically on March 31st at midnight. This year's process was a little different in that another state requirement of completing the ILO traffic survey, which needs to be done by all types of libraries, was a part of that process and also needed to be done by March 31st in a second portal. So this year, with even double the work, our team did an awesome job. So what you have before you is the recommendation. So this body makes a recommendation for suspension to the Illinois State Library with them having final approval of that. However, I'd like to make a note, all but one of these, we have a change in one of them. One of the processes we do in an effort to ensure that every library, even that's recommended for suspension, has an opportunity to complete the process is, at the final step is to send a certified letter to each library by email and by mail. And sometimes we hear back from them. We have one library, Hoover Shrum District 157, that is recommended for suspension, but they actually had a hitch in their technical giddy up. In completing the form, there's a one final step in which you need to lock the form to say that it's complete, and that was the only thing that they didn't do. They completed the form as requested. So we'd like to request the board not recommend this library, and we've consulted the Illinois State Library on this. Any library, we've talked with them extensively about this board document before submitting it, but we'd like to recommend that exception. I have one other, not exception, but just something we want to add for the record. the LaSalle Illinois Veterans Home in LaSalle. Unfortunately, they are also being recommended for suspension. I spoke with Margaret Crema, the director, there yesterday, 3 times. And there was she had a few technical issues with the new requirement, and she plays such a big role in that institute and working directly with patients, and so she wasn't able to complete the process. Unfortunately, if a library does not complete the initial certification process, that the questions through the portal, that portal cannot be opened back up. So unfortunately, we have to recommend this library for suspension. However, we are going to work with Margaret has made me promise to say that she will be reapplying immediately, and Amanda and I already have plans to, pending the vote of this board, to contact her immediately to rectify this. That was a decision, unfortunately, we had to make with the state library to continue them on the path of, and I told her this isn't a blemish in any way on their record, and she's been with that library for years, and I've worked with her before. Amanda's made several visits with her, and we'll work closely with her on the reapplication process, but I wanted to make that note in this case on that particular library's.
So in the past, I mean, you've mentioned that you've worked with them previously. Mm-hmm. So have they faced challenges in the recertification process previously?
Well, with this new requirement, there was a little confusion that the traffic survey represented the whole of the process. So the certification wasn't completed.
So in previous years, had there been confusion?
No, there hadn't been after a few calls. I mean,
I guess certainly we want to have as many members as possible, and we want to support different types of libraries, special libraries, but I also, I know you guys always go above and beyond, and I am just curious if this is an ongoing issue, what type of assurances they can also make to ensure that this is not necessary. I mean, I've done the certification. We did the ILL survey. The ILL survey takes more than 3 minutes that the recertification does, but I'm just curious what steps maybe working with them. I'm sure that's something you'll talk about when they
definitely. And different kinds of members need different kinds of support.
Yeah.
I'll leave it at that.
Well, didn't you say that the form locks, so you can't go back and edit?
Well, in this particular case, there was some confusion as to how to submit the form, so we actually received it by fax, which does not render it complete.
So there are all these little technicalities.
And we just need to support them in a different kind of way.
And I had a question, number 11, OSF St. Mary's Medical Center in Galesburg. Agency reported no library exists. So that means no library exists anymore? Or somehow did we certify a library in previous years that wasn't actually there?
No, that library, when an agency closes their library, in this particular case, they decided not to continue the library after there was the director was deceased.
Oh, okay.
So they decided not to replace that position. And he was actually very involved with the Michael Wilkerson.
And he was a board member.
Yeah, he was a great
person.
Yes. Unfortunately, yeah.
Boy, the backstories to certification.
I'm not such a buzzkill.
Question about the Illinois Veterans Home.
Sure.
It's been a while since I was involved in this, but what was their most recent relationship with Prairie Cat?
For this particular LaSalle, I don't think are they? I don't know.
They were adult resident member.
That's right.
They were a Prairie Cat member, and then they withdrew due to funding, I believe.
Because they had received money to, there is legislation to support veterans' homes, the libraries of veterans' homes specifically, which is why we work so closely. We want to be, and we wouldn't do that for other libraries, but we work pretty closely with them.
There had been issues in the past with both veterans' homes and their ability to participate effectively in the consortium.
Yep.
But that was the one in
there.
Mantena.
Yeah. That one. decide. But this director is very committed to being a part of the system. Just needs a lot of support on this little part of it.
Well, they're on the withdrawal list too, the Mantino one.
Mm-hmm. The other one, yeah.
Yep.
Are there any other questions, or does any of our guests have any questions? Thank you all for certifying.
Veranda, St. Thomas the Apostle, which school is that? Do you know offhand where it's located?
Have a location.
No, I don't. Do you know? It's not. No, I'm sorry. I don't.
Okay, just curious which one it was. I know there's several.
Yeah, my apologies.
Okay. All right.
I can get it to you.
This is the Illinois State Library. It's in Crystal Lake.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Then we need a motion to approve the recommendations to the State Library minus Hoover Shrum School District 57 for suspension, to recommend the other 13 that have been presented to us for suspension from the library system.
So moved.
Second.
Should this be a roll call? I think so. Emily?
Sarah Armstrong.
Yes.
Dave Barry.
Yes.
Karen Bershey.
Yes.
Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall.
Yes.
Yes.
Hilliard.
Yes.
Dan Hilliard.
Yes.
Lisa Konashak.
Yes.
Mary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Carrie Pearson.
Yes.
Dane Ward.
Yes.
Lori Wilcox.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Motion passed. We will move on down to revision of executive.
One more thing.
Yes, Veronica. I'm so sorry. I thought you were finished.
No, I just want to call your attention to the second memo we have.
Oh,
There's
yes.
two different kinds of the board action for the recommendation of suspension.
Were we recommending both?
No.
That
No.
was, oh, we have to do, I'm sorry.
We need to do both.
No, that's not a board action.
Oh, it's just a,
And this is for your information. I wanted to
FYI.
just clarify that library, this is a list, libraries that voluntarily report that they have closed. Is, in that agency, we just have the paperwork that we work with the state library on to remove them from the system. So that's a separate group. I just put this in for your information so you can see kind of the other libraries that will no longer be a part of the system. So it's just purely information what I wanted to call you. It doesn't require a board action at all. But again, if anyone has any questions, of course, we're happy to answer them.
thank you, Veranda.
Thank you, Mary Jo.
All right. Next up is the Executive Director Evaluation Procedure.
Yes, thank you. So this is a procedure, so you don't need to approve it. Obviously, you've only approved policies, but since it seemed, and I don't usually bring procedures actually to the board meeting, but since this is a procedure that involves me and you, I thought it was the best thing. And basically, we haven't changed anything except we've taken out the operation committee because there is no more operations committee. So it's really just cleaning it up. So.
Okay. And are there any questions from board members about the procedure? And you all should have received in your board email a copy of the evaluation form and an email from me stating when it needed to be returned to me, please. We would like to have everyone respond to it so that we have a fair and overall evaluation for Dee instead of just a few people evaluating her, since it is supposed to be the whole board.
Good advertisement.
Yes. All right. We will move down to,
We did not receive it.
if you did not receive it, We will make sure you get it.
Did anybody else not receive it?
You said you sent it to the Rails board email?
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Well, have to get to the Rails board.
Okay.
When did you send it?
The day that we talked about it, I sent it right away. Yeah. Yeah.
Sorry.
Like 2 weeks after our last board meeting, I
Somebody got
think.
it? That's all.
It's there.
Yes.
I assume it was there, but I.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Is
And
it
if you'd
possible
like
to
us
resend
send
it out to
you-
everyone?
We will be happy to resend it out to everyone, just to make sure you have it. No problem. Uh-huh. All right. Under new business, we also have the August board meeting.
Yes, and we don't have a schedule yet for next fiscal year of board meetings. We don't have a board for next year, so it's hard to have a schedule. But I know it's a tricky thing because when we have a board, it'll be next year. So, but assuming that we will continue meeting on the same schedule, I will be at IFLA during when the meeting would actually be held. So I just wanted to get that on people's screens. I don't think we need to necessarily do anything today, but when we approve the schedule, I'll bring it up again. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
When does that normally happen? What month do we typically approve?
July.
It kind of has to be July.
After we seat the new board.
Okay.
Yeah.
We invite the new board to the June
So we
meeting,
can get everything kind of organized. But
and then we do it at the July meeting.
Would we be suggesting earlier?
I don't know.
I'll just toss that hat in the ring.
Okay.
Earlier. I know that means rushing with reports and things.
That's okay. Yeah.
But,
That would make more sense, obviously. Yeah.
Yeah. I have no problem with it moving on the 19th because that'll be my second full day of school.
Well,
So,
that's probably another good reason. So
Yeah.
if we moved it a week earlier, it would be on the 12th,
yeah.
right? No, I don't.
No,
yeah.
you're leaving on the 12th.
Right, I'm leaving on the 12th. Well, we'll figure it out.
Okay.
We'll figure it out.
All right.
No action.
No, I don't think so.
No
I
action.
thought since I should tell you.
Okay.
Usually the 4th.
We'll look at it.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
The regular meeting will be August 26th.
Yeah, that's the one.
Hey,
Yes.
forward to someone.
Sorry.
Okay. I'm sorry. Who was that?
It's Kathy. The regular
Yes.
meeting would be August 26th. The previous week is the 19th.
Yeah, okay. So more the 26th.
Maybe I was feverish when I figured this out. Maybe it's fine.
Okay. All right. We'll talk about it later.
Anyway, we'll do the schedule in July.
It normally would be, assuming the same pattern was, it would be the 26th, which would be.
A week after it.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
Maybe on vacation now. I don't know. I'll figure it out. I think I'm
Okay. All right. Well, we will move down to the 8.4 2017 budget and plan of service.
Right. I put this on here in case we had the instructions, but as you have already heard, we have not. So I think we'll, in case, obviously, so that
We'll just table that discussion for the time being.
Yes, we will.
All right. We will move down to 8.5, the draft pregnancy policy, which is one of the policies that the policy committee discussed this morning.
Right. Right, so the policy committee did approve the draft and recommend it to the full board. I'm going to let Barb Brooks, who's in Burr Ridge, talk about the policy.
I think she is.
Barb, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
We can't see you. I can't see.
I intentionally sat off this to the side. All right, I'll.
Oh, it's got you now.
Oh, it did.
Speak up.
Caught you.
All right. Okay. With the Illinois Pregnancy Act accommodation, we were advised
Let's see your hand.
We still can't see you, Barb. Could you maybe go by Carrie or Jane?
Thank you, Kate.
Had you for a second.
Okay, is this better?
Much better, thank you.
All right. Carrie brought it to our attention, the Illinois Pregnancy Act Accommodation, or Pregnancy Accommodation Act. So we formulated a policy for the handbook that would follow the guidelines that were set by the act itself. So in it, this kind of expands the coverage because typically under the Family Medical Leave Act, you would have to be eligible, having 1,250 hours, being with the organization for a year. So now they've kind of expanded out coverage under this new act so that any employee, regardless of length of time or how long they've worked for the organization, is now covered under this act for reasonable accommodations due to pregnancy. And we've pulled the act and adjusted our information in our handbook and are bringing this policy to you for approval so that we can now implement this into our handbook as well as train our supervisors on making reasonable accommodations based off of the act.
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions?
All right, hearing no questions, I will entertain a motion.
Wasn't it already recommended by?
From committee. So,
Need a second.
doesn't need a second. So then we need a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed?
And so that one's delivered.
Yes. The pregnancy policy in the Illinois Pregnancy Act is approved. And we will move down to the revisement of the harassment policy. Barb?
Yes, there was a memo included in the packet. We had a harassment policy in place, but updated it to be in compliance with the ILDS contract that we were recently awarded because they had certain elements that they required that we didn't have included in our policy, such as making the statement that sexual harassment was illegal and providing contact information for reporting outside of the agency and so forth. So with that, we've adjusted the policy and are bringing it to you for your approval, your review and approval.
This was also recommended to approve from
The policy committee. So we don't need a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Motion passes. All right. We will move down to 9.1, the social media policy. Mary Witt?
We would like to have a social media policy for any of our existing or future social media tools. But we certainly encourage, widespread member feedback and comment. We do want to protect from some of the things that you see in the policy: discriminatory remarks, spam, political campaign. So this was first taken to the policy committee in February. They did have some questions about whether a Rails social media tool could be considered a public forum. So we did check with our attorney. You'll see the explanation there. This is not considered a public forum, so we are able to, prevent some of the comments that I just mentioned in the categories that I just mentioned. So, and the other things you see there are some of the changes that we made to the language are on the other side of the handout you have. Are there any questions about this?
Okay. If there are no questions, This is coming from committee, so it doesn't need a second. We need all those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. And this policy has been approved.
Thank you, Mary.
All right, next up is 9.2, revision of the vacation, sick, and personal time policies. Barb?
Yes. With these policies, initially we were revising the personal time policy to provide clarification to staff with regard to how time was handled at the time of termination. During that time, the board recommended, or the policy committee recommended changes to that, and in viewing those changes, it was suggested to also look at the vacation and sick time policy to make sure that they were consistent as well. So that is what you see before you is information adjusting the vacation and sick time so that they were all three policies were consistent, clear, and improved. Does anyone have any questions with regard to any of the changes in the track document?
I don't have a question on the changes. I was curious if we had ever run into someone being in the negative upon termination.
I'm sorry, I couldn't, you broke.
Okay, I'm going to try again. I know, yeah, the screen got fuzzy too. So I was curious, Barb, this is Kate, if there was any, if there had been any actual occurrences of people upon termination being in the negative.
Generally, if the individual may have used more of one type of time, then it could even it out with the other type of time. Like if they had vacation and they used more personal, then they were switched out. I don't believe we've had any that have had to actually pay time back to us, but it's possible if it happened a while ago. Nothing recent.
Okay.
Okay. Do we need to do 3 separate approvals because it's 3 separate policies, or can we do one?
I make a motion that we do all 3.
I like that. Isn't that what the committee recommended?
Yes,
Yeah.
the committee recommended all 3 of them be approved, so they're coming from committee as a whole. So all those in favor say aye.
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 All those opposed say no. Policies approved for the vacation, personal time, and sick time policy. All right.
Can I just add, I just want to say kudos to Barb and Mary. I know writing policy can be tricky and making it, include everything while also being understandable. And I feel like you guys always do a good job, but there was a lot this month. I know that you guys have been working on with the policy committee, and just nicely done.
Thank you. On their behalf, yes.
Mm-hmm. Okay. D, board development?
Yeah, so we are looking at a act that we are all very familiar with, I know, the Illinois System Act, Illinois Library System Act. This is from our original document, or the original document that Julie Tappendorf prepared last year. We've just been breaking off pieces of it, and this is the latest one of the System Act. And of course, there's the administrative code that guides the implementation or shows the way that the System Act is implemented more specifically or practically. So that's it. really, unless anybody has any questions.
Okay.
I appreciate that you guys do this because then I can just share it with others. And it's nice.
Well, that was kind of the idea, because
Yes.
that's what we did that, I mean, I think
Yeah, when
Heartland's-
we did
Kind
it.
of like the train the trainer
Yeah,
and pass it down.
Yeah,
That's
it's
good.
just nicely distilled.
Good.
All right. We will move into closed session. The board will move into closed session to discuss matters pertaining to personnel as per Section 5 of the Illinois Compiled Statutes, Chapter 120, Paragraph 2, Section C1, which states, a public body may have a closed meeting to consider the following subjects: the appointment, the employment, compensation, discipline, performance of dismissal of specific employees of the public body or legal counsel for the public body, including hearing testimony on a complaint lodged against an employee of the public body or against legal counsel for the public body to determine its validity. May I have a motion to move into closed session?
Second.
We have a move. Motion has been moved and seconded. Roll call. Emily, please.
Sarah Armstrong.
Yes.
Dave Barry.
Yes.
Karen Bershey. Yes. Judy Crocker.
Yes.
Kate Hall.
Yes.
Dan Hilliard.
You bet.
Lisa Kamashak. Gary Jo Matusek.
Yes.
Paul Mills.
Yes.
Kathy Parker.
Yes.
Karen Pearson.
Yes.
Danny Ward.
Yes.
Lori Wilcox.
Yes.
All right.
We're going into the
Okay.
Yeah, next move the equipment.
All right.
All right, sorry.
Okay, we'll call this meeting back to order. To the public, we'll call the meeting back out of closed session to open session at 2:31 p.m. And Carrie.
All right, I'm going to make two motions. First, I move that the Rails Board President be authorized and directed to respond to the March 20, 2016 email of Candace McCreary and advise that the Rails Board, 1, reviewed the allegations made, 2, has determined that factual allegations made in the email were inaccurate, and 3, the allegations regarding Rails Executive Director conduct being inappropriate, unethical, and unprofessional were without merit.
I'll second that.
Okay. Should we do roll call or just? Okay. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Nay? Any abstentions? Okay. That motion is passed.
Okay,
I
then-
will be happy to write a letter.
All right, I move that the Rails Board direct Carrie Pearson as Rails Ethics Officer to also reply to the email from his perspective as Ethics Officer.
I'll second. Or James. Okay.
Dane will second. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Motion passed. If there is no further business before the Rails Board, I will entertain a motion to adjourn.
I thought there was going to be entertainment. Wasn't
No.
there something about entertainment?
So moved.
Second.
We have a first and a second motion to adjourn the meeting at 2:34 p.m. All those in favor say aye.
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 Any opposed? So sorry, you've been outvoted. Thank you very much.
Have a safe drive.
Lovely to
everybody.
see everyone. Drive carefully.